Yeah. I promise I've done this before. All right, before we get started, we got a very special show today. Not only because there's so many cool things to talk about, but also because Josh and Kyle aren't here. So I've put up the bat signal. I've sent out for some help. So I'm gonna bring in my buddy. He is a writer for But Why Though Podcast, Collider, IGN, Adventures in Poor Taste, Rotten Tomatoes, and he's also a member of the Seattle Critics Film Association. Welcome, Mr. CJ. Hey, CJ, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Just enjoying my Saturday. Thank you guys for having me. Long-time listener, first-time guest.
Yeah, I've been trying to get you on the show for a little while now, and I figured this was the perfect timing because once I know you love comics, and also you also love movies. Since you're a film critic, you watch a lot of them, so I figured this was a perfect combination. So welcome.
Thank you. You figured correctly. So yeah.
So as you may be able to tell from all the stuff in the background and the intro, even though I messed that up a little bit, playing the outro right away. We're gonna talk about all the announcements from James Gunn and DC Studios, which is, it looks like, even though this is gonna be a tag team by Gunn and Safran, like it looks like Gunn is pretty much the on the public facing person for DC, which makes sense. He's a director. I feel like he's more used to dealing with the public, where producers usually hang out behind the scenes. Not all of them. Sometimes the producers get a little FaceTime, like Mr. Feige. Uh, but yeah, I'm very excited because there's so much to talk about. So we're gonna start with that up at the at the beginning of the show. So the first thing in the announcements is James Gunn addressed the 4 movies that are still upcoming, which we've gotten. We talked about Shazam's trailer last stream. We just got a one latest trailer, and then Zachary Levi started talking and opening his mouth. Oh, what a shit show! So do with that what you will. So, but which one of the 4 movies are you guys most excited about for the upcoming year? Or I think the next year should be coming out. CJ, which one are you most excited for?
2 words: Blue Beetle. Like, Jaime Reyes deserves the world. I watched Cobra Kai, and Zolo Madureira is such a great actor, so I think he's going to do great as Jaime. Plus, this is DC's answer to Spider-Man. Like, everybody loves Spider-Man, and here's a Hispanic kid who gets an alien scarab and becomes basically super powered the Toku aesthetic. Like, I love Tokusatsu, and that kind of fits this aesthetic with Jaime's costume. So yes, everything about Blue Beetle has me hyped, and I cannot wait for that trailer to drop. I'm so excited for that one.
I am very excited. I'm really hyped about the latest Blue Beetle series, Graduation Day. That you can also buy in Spanish, which is, I think, really cool. Like, you can buy it in Spanish in the US because these comics do get printed in other languages. But yeah, I'm very excited for that one too. I think if I had to rank them, Blue Beetle is definitely at the top of my list as well, because it's the one that feels the most fresh, most different out of what's coming up. But Clay, what about you? Which one are you most hyped for?
Well, actually, just commenting off of that, with Booster Gold being one of the properties coming too, it would be interesting if we had a Booster Beetle team up, but wasn't Ted Cord. But does that mean we have to have Ted Cord? He just may not be the current Blue Beetle.
Interesting. I mean, they definitely could introduce, because I do like the dynamic of Blue Beetle mentoring Blue Beetle. There's a lot to dig there.
Yeah.
Ted Cord's been through some shit. Jaime's also been through some shit, obviously, with with Scarab and dealing with all that stuff. So I think they can definitely help each other out. So That'd be real cool. So let's touch a little bit on the other. Oh, sorry, Clay, go ahead.
I do want to say Shazam. Zachary Levi is like perfect Shazam. Like his, I mean, I know I want to call him Captain Marvel, but like his Shazam is so fun. And then, like in the trailer, we see Helen Mirren kick his ass. Like, who doesn't want to see Helen Mirren become like a permanent fixture in the DC universe as this evil?
Also, Lucy Liu. Also, dragons.
Yes. Oh man, like I'm so excited to see those fights because what they tease look great, and hopefully that's not just the best shot of the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited about Fury of the Gods.
Now, CJ, I posted this last week, and maybe I want to get your thoughts on it. A lot of people felt like that trailer gave away a lot. I have a theory that they're only showing us like the first part, like the first arc, like all that stuff happens in the first part, and then the real movie is about Billy having to get his family back because it looks like the sisters kind of take him away. There's also another sister that they haven't touched on. Like we only see one shot of I think it's Rachel Z. Ziegler.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think about that trailer?
Yeah, I think. Listen, every good story, a villain should parallel a hero, and I feel like there's going to be a parallel between Billy and his family and the Daughters of Atlas. Like whoever Zegler is playing, I don't think she's on board with her sister's whole "let's kill kids" thing. And, yeah. So yeah, there's that, and I've also heard rumors that her character and Billy's might have like a thing because again, Billy's a teenager, so hormones and stuff. So that'll be interesting to see. So yeah, I feel like there probably is stuff we aren't seeing. Even with trailer, we've seen half of the movie.
I'm also interested to see if the movies changed a little bit. I feel like the first trailer relied a lot on like little Easter eggs from the old DC extended universe, right? We saw a lot of like figures and comics. Even in the first movie, we saw like Batman toys and stuff. So like, we know at least for now that these heroes kind of exist in that universe. So who knows what's going to happen? I do want to touch on and we will get past the Ezra Miller of it all. But I mean, the Flash feels like DC's reset button. Like this is like that's what they're going to use to kind of bring in all the other. So it looks like after the Flash, we have two more movies. So like that makes me wonder how those two movies, Aquaman and Blue Beetle, will fit into the future of DCU, or if they'll just be like Elseworld stories. But do you guys have thoughts on the Flash other than the obvious?
I mean, if anyone's going to break the universe, it'll be Ezra Miller.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel iffy on the Flash. I mean, look, I am looking forward to Sasha Callis' Supergirl, and the idea of Michael Keaton coming back as Batman is awesome. But I'm just like, it kind of feels like the Flash is the least interesting thing about the Flash. And again, say whatever you will about like, again, I don't want to be the guy who constantly compares Marvel and DC, but in both Spider-Verse and No Way Home, both of the central Spideys were the focus, and even with all the universe breaking apart. And I just hope that doesn't get lost because the Flash is a character with such a rich count and stuff like that. So again, we'll see, but that's my 2 cents on it. As for what happens after that, Gunn has confirmed that Blue Beetle will be a part of the new canon. So and anything else is Elseworld. So I'm going to think that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is basically Elseworld. It's like the Batman is. So yeah.
Okay, well, that's a good segue to talk about Aquaman now. I'm pretty hyped for that movie. I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Like, I think all his performance has been great. There, once again, DC movies can't be without their one thing that you have to talk about. There's the whole, what's her name?
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard.
Yeah, Amber Heard of it all. That I believe she's been removed from most of the movie. Which, man, DC just can't catch a fucking break with their. They need to do better background checks on these people. But I'm still excited, and I hope I know there's talks about Jason Momoa sticking around in some other, maybe another role. But I like his version of Aquaman. I mean, like, I think Aquaman gets a bad rep from. I don't know. I don't even know where the bad rep comes from. I think it just maybe from.
It was the Super Friends cartoon.
Yeah,
as the whole talking the fish thing. But for me, my introduction to Aquaman was during the Peter David run and then Grant Morrison's JLA, and that bearded, hook-handed Batman, and that I was like, Aquaman is a badass.
Yeah, which is what that's what they adapted into the animated series too. Like, you meet Aquaman and he's like this curmudgeon, like, oh, like he'll kick your ass, and I like that they really explain like he's really more powerful than people think. Like, he doesn't just talk to fish. His skin is nearly invulnerable just because of all he has to be because of the pressure in the sea and all that stuff. And then having a hook hand, like, it just looks cool. Like, you get the right artist on that, is gonna look real cool, right, in the comics.
Yeah,
so.
I love animated Flashpoint because it has the best portrayal of Aquaman as a badass, because he basically has to go toe to toe with Wonder Woman, and and like they're the two bigs at the end fighting.
Yeah, I think after Aquaman, like I said, there's a lot of good stuff. Like, I really enjoyed the first movie, other than the rendition of Africa by Pitbull. But other than that, like, I really like that movie. I was very excited about the Trench, that movie that seemed to be coming a little bit. So,
well, if Jason Momoa comes over and doesn't play Aquaman, I know the rumor is playing Lobo, which I think would be great, because I mean, just to pivot to how fun Lobo is and just being evil.
Yeah. I loved Lobo in Superman the Animated Series and Superman Man of Tomorrow. That dude is just absolutely chaotic, and it would be fun. Plus, Momoa looks like a dead ringer for him, so it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, Gunn should tell him, just get a little bigger, work out a little more. But sure. Yeah, we haven't really seen we've seen one live action Lobo, and it was on Krypton, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So I never got that far on Krypton. I wanted to. I enjoyed the first, like, I thought it was an interesting premise of the show, and especially because it was supposed to be connected to all the Zack Snyder stuff. But CJ, it sounds like you've seen it. How did you like that? All that.
I actually really loved it. It's more or less taking the Superman mythos and Game of Thrones and slamming them together, and it was beautiful. And the second season got really crazy because it introduced Brainiac and Lobo, and they gave Doomsday a tragic story. Yes, folks, they gave the monster who was literally created to punch Superman to death a tragic backstory, and it worked. But sadly, it was canceled because sci-fi doesn't like nice things. So
yeah, it's too much to have a writer on a show. Let's just do reality.
Yeah. I really figured that would be a show that HBO Max would have picked up back then, since they needed to, or I guess maybe it was even still DC Universe, whatever. So
I don't think HBO Max is in a position to pick up shows anymore. That's what's really sad, is like, if we have a show that goes to the wayside from a streaming service, I don't think a lot of streaming services are looking to pick up more shows like that unless they're struggling.
Yeah, because you see in the news, Max and Netflix and Paramount are outright cutting stuff or trimming their catalogs, and it's just like, yeah, if you are trying to pitch a show, you're just like, who the hell do I pitch to? Because everything's getting taken away.
Yeah, it's just
all right. Let's get into the meat of the episode. So I think for the most part, we're very excited about the upcoming movies. I think part of it because we kind of have to be. there's nothing else DC happening as far as like movies until after that. But and I'm just gonna go in the same order that James Gunn. I still want James Gunn back. I mean, I loved Megan, so like I need he needs to give him the Metal Man or something.
No, Haunted Tank.
Oh yeah.
Or Sentinels of Magic, because
House of Secrets.
Let's talk about the Creature Commandos, and I do want to pivot out. Like, CJ wrote an article for Collider about the Creature Commandos, so I'm gonna let you take it away, CJ, because it seems like you have a lot. Like, I googled it afterwards, and I'm like, oh, cool, there was a comic called Creature Commandos, but I'm gonna let you take it away. What do you think about that TV? First of all, let me know what you think about the TV series, and then about the fact that it's going to be animated.
I love animation. Look, I'll be real with you folks. I am a little bit more of a Marvel fan because Spider-Man will always be my guy, but I have always said that the one area DC has trounced Marvel in is animation. So for them to come out the gate with an animated series is just dope. And Gunn is apparently writing the entire series, and it makes sense because the Creature Commandos, for those not in the know, is essentially a unit formed in World War II to fight supernatural threats. So it's basically the Monster Squad, but they're the good guys, and that's right up Gunn's alley.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it really looks fun, and it has some ties to Suicide Squad because Rick Flag Sr. and the Weasel will be on the team. And I'm just like,
my initial thought was like, just get Kinnaman to play his own dad.
Yes, yes.
Like just rough him up a little. Like, I mean, also he will be, by the time this is being made, he'll be older than he was when the Suicide Squad movie, or when both of the Suicide Squad movies came out. But if it's gonna be animated, like, yeah, just have him voice his own dad. Like, who better? But I'm excited. I think from what I think, that was original art just made for the presentation. Unless you found that in a different comic, because for the most part, James Gunn, and they put out a video on the DC channel. James Gunn, there was a lot of different art from comic books, and we'll talk about those comics in a little bit. But I think the Creature Commandos look pretty contemporary. It looked like it was something that they've already been working on that show, actually. So it looked like that animation or that art was actually just something they had prepared for the presentation. So I think that maybe like concept art. So I think it looks great. It's got some really interesting characters too. So, all right. Let me get Clay. Clay looks like he's coming back, so we can get his 2 cents on the Creature Commandos.
Sorry, it's fixing the audio problem. Yeah, I love that Gunn will do like weird stuff, and so like I hope Creature Commandos like goes on to be a regular thing. Like I know he's just part of the creative side, but I wonder when he has like animated movies. I mean, this is just going to go to streaming. Like, how do we know if it's successful or not? Like, especially with the way HBO Max is now with shows. Like, how can we get excited about shows when they cancel them? After like left and right, and they're just putting reality stuff on.
Yeah, that is a worry for me.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like hard to get invested in stuff when you just don't know if it's going to be around past a season. Like everyone's doing that Netflix model, but they just hacked and slashed so much stuff. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just having a brain fart because I'm hearing echo.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that may be. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna put on my headphones to see if that's what it is. But okay. Yeah, I think I'm very excited for that one. Like, I love animation too. It's like one of my favorite modes of like just media. Like I'm a big anime fan, I grew up watching all those cartoons, like just big animated movies. Top tier stuff for me. So all right, let's talk about the next thing here. We have Waller, a live action TV series, which looks like will cause delays for Peacemaker season 2, but some of those Peacemaker characters will probably be in this Waller show. What do you guys think on that? Where are we at on Waller? And tell me why this should be a checkmate show.
I mean, Waller wants to control everything, so like her power grab is going to be interesting, and that's probably what this show is going to be about, based on some things I've read and the way I think DC is going to go.
Yeah, if people who watched Peacemaker the first season remember that it ended with the revelation of Task Force X. So I think Waller's going to have to deal with the government thing. You sent supervillains on black ops missions and stuff like that. But there's another comic that may influence that. In the comics, Waller was part of a secret organization called Checkmate, which used dubious means to keep the peace. And other characters have joined, including Mr. Terrific and Mr. Bones from the DEO, who is just a walking skeleton. So it would be a nice way to do political thriller set in the DC universe and introduce more of more characters. So I'm definitely down. Plus, Viola Davis is a phenomenal actress. So.
Oh shit, yeah. I mean, she like is the key person to really keep, because like if you want to have someone who's power hungry, she's great. Like even in the first Suicide Squad movie, she's like the best thing in it.
Totally agree.
Yeah, well, same. I'm very excited for that.
I think there's going to be some people wanting to grab power in the way the DC is going to be structured based on some of the stuff I read in the Authority. Because the Stormwatch was the group that Authority comes out of, and the Weatherman basically is a guy who can control who they're going to help and who they aren't.
Oh, it's just
very much like Waller. Mm-hmm. You know, and there are some people who are going to be pivoting for power, and I think it'll be cool to see on the DC level do a Game of Thrones or a political type story. And having her as a key component will be great. If we get a Weatherman from Stormwatch, it's got to be someone who can hold their own with her in a scene.
Yes. Who I would love to see as Bendix, Corey Stoll, because he was really great in House of Cards. And I'm just going to say, in the first Ant-Man, he was basically playing a cross between Lex Luthor and Henry Bendix. So he would be great as that.
Yeah. And Bendix was just a big part of the recent... Superman run.
I feel like we're going to see Corey Stoll pretty soon.
Yep.
Or at least his face, like deep baked on to somebody else's thing. So.
Yeah, that one did look pretty great.
That was pretty cursed, I think.
But he is a great actor, man. That first season of House of Cards is so good because of him. And then when you see him as Yellow Jacket, he's so underused. You're like, you could have done so much more. Like it could have. I mean, I don't want to bash Ant-Man because I do love it and watch it over and over again. I just feel like he is so underutilized when you see how great he is in House of Cards.
Yeah. Cool. Let's talk about. I mean, since I'm going in order, we're gonna have to talk about the big one, the big old boy, the blue boy. Superman, which feels like Superman Legacy. This is a movie set out to come out on. They already have a release date of July 11, 2025. Wow. Which I didn't realize that was. Everything feels like it's so long, but it all goes by very fast. So this is something that James Gunn is personally writing as well. From what we've seen in his tweets, this is going to be. Not based on, because I think he talked about, he doesn't want to he's not really bringing any specific stories, but just he wants to bring the feel of some certain comics, and looks like Superman All-Star is what he wants this one to feel like. So how do you guys feel about that?
Love it.
I am so excited because the first page of All-Star Superman is the best because it sums up Superman's origin in a single page, and if Legacy opens up with that, I am gold.
Yeah. I think we're at a point where, like, do we need any more, like, we don't need origin stories for a lot of these people, right? Just give me like a quick.
My mother's never read a comic book in her life, but she can tell you Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man's origins. Those guys are good.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about All-Star Superman is it takes the love you have for the character and just assumes that you know these things. And even if you don't, like, some Silver Age knowledge is necessary to read that, you go dig it up because you love the way he uses those pieces in there. Mm-hmm. Like the way he has the key to the Fortress of Solitude is like from a Silver Age story. But Morrison just drops it on the way he gets into the Fortress of Solitude.
They do a really good job just encapsulating like the like taking 50 years of a character and just kind of distilling down their essence into it. So yeah, Morrison.
But that is like the end. That's Superman looking at his end of life. That's a very interesting thing because it assumes you know everything, and this is going to be the end. So how is he going to have a young Superman who's going to do this story unless he's? I'm curious if he's seen by like maybe a alternate dimension Superman as like,
Henry Cavill's watching the movie.
Well, I was going to say like Brandon Routh does the Best Kingdom Come Superman. I mean, he's the only one who's done it. And that bit of sadness is interesting to see in a character who's built on hope.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did pull up that page that CJ just mentioned because having the DC Infinite app, I could just go in and look at all these books. And I mean, well, first of all, Frank Quietly, oh my goodness. Uh,
So
but I
good.
love it. I love it. And then from there, like after these 4 panels, boom. Like this is definitely, if you're trying to capture this feeling into a Superman movie, that makes me very excited.
Yeah.
Because I do love that. So
That would be so amazing to see on screen.
I'm excited to get back into some Frank Quietly stuff, and that people will start to know him. Maybe he'll do more work because I haven't seen any one of his books in a while. But All-Star
yeah,
Superman,
he's done. I know he's done covers and stuff. I picked up his Nemesis Reloaded cover.
Yeah.
Which I forget how good he is also like at violence because of his stuff. Like I usually don't associate it with that, but like he's
Well,
just
when
really
we get
good
into
at
the
that stuff.
Authority, we'll definitely see some violence. He
Yeah.
does it so well.
Cool. Next up, something that's very near and dear to my heart: the Lanterns live action TV series. They've been teasing us with a Lantern show for years now. Like I think J.J. Abrams was gonna do something, and then like something like HBO Max is supposed to be having a. They've been working on a Lantern show for a long time, and I
The
do
last
think.
animated one was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, the Jon Stewart. Yeah, I love that. I love that stuff, and it is unfair that we don't give DC the like whenever they do a good animated stuff like that's never brought up in the conversation of like look how good things they can do good things.
Again, yeah.
But yeah,
But it gets handled so badly, it got canceled after 3 seasons.
Yeah. I do like that they're gonna focus on 2 lanterns, although I wish Kyle was part of that because Kyle's my boy. But we're gonna get Hal Jordan. We're gonna get Jon Stewart. I also really interesting that they picked art from the Earth One series, which is a really different take on the whole Green Lantern mythos. But I'm excited for this one very much so because I do love Green Lantern. I think that movie just did so much damage to the property in live action that although if you have listened to our past few episodes, Kyle doesn't think
likes
that
it.
movie's as bad as it is. So
I can't figure out why. Like, what does
Yeah.
he see in any scene of that film that is redeeming?
So CJ, quick question for you: Green Lantern or Black Adam?
Green Lantern.
Which
Black
one do you like
Adam.
more? Okay,
Black Adam
okay,
has Dr. Fate in it.
that's the correct answer. That's not the answer that Kyle has been giving us. So he really did not enjoy that Black Adam movie.
He says, yeah, that just kind of blows me away because even at the end, like you're getting to see the JSA, you're getting to see some cool stuff,
Yeah. Anyway,
I just can't even imagine rewatching that film and it getting any enjoyment from it.
But in the next few months, we're gonna put out a Patreon list for if you're a patron of a certain tier, you can make us watch one of those movies on the list, and Green Lantern is gonna be part of that list. So there's gonna be movies that we don't necessarily enjoy, or that we actually dislike, but we want to revisit some stuff because I think there's some stuff that maybe we've unfairly not revisited, but there's some stuff that deserves us to not revisit it. So keep an eye out for that on our Patreon. All the links will be on our
CJ,
YouTube
do you
and
have
stuff.
like a bottom tier of films that it would take money for you to watch again?
Yeah, you'd have to pay me an obscene amount of money to watch Fantastic again. I can't do it.
What about if I only make you watch the first 40 minutes of the movie? Is that cheaper? Do I get a discount? Because I think the first 40 minutes of that movie are not that bad. It's when you get to the time jump.
Yeah,
that shit goes off the rails.
The story is so whack.
It's a pretty cool sci-fi.
That it had so much potential. Like even when movies fail and they try to set up stuff, like you're setting up some cool things, so you have the idea that this could be neat. But
anyways, back to the New Hope and Green Lanterns in the future.
Yeah.
CJ, what do you think? What are you excited for? What do you want to see in this TV show?
I am really excited that we will finally be getting Jon Stewart, because Jon Stewart is the guy that most people think of when they think of Green Lantern. So that will be fun. I also look forward to the dynamic that Stuart and Jordan have. And how this might think, because Gunn has said that Lanterns is going to be a key piece of the story going forward, and that Jordan and Stewart are investigating ancient horror. And that sounds to me like Blackest Night down the line.
Yes.
Like, notice how he said lanterns, and how Denny has pointed out that they're using concepts from Green Lantern Earth 1. And in that series, John Stewart was a yellow lantern. Maybe maybe we might see them. Maybe the reason there's no green in there is because they may not be Green Lanterns all the time. Because, there's different emotional spectrum. And, if we do get Blackest Night, that's an easy sell. Superhero zombies. That's a license to print money. So the potential is endless, and I really look forward to seeing it. And I hope it's cast well and they get the creative, because it sounds promising as hell.
Oh wow! As the first big DC event, having Blackest Night would be incredible.
Because how else? Because how superhero zombies? That is a big event.
Yeah,
waiting to happen.
Yeah, I'm really surprised they had not tried that. Like they didn't try that to capitalize, like when The Walking Dead was like at its peak. That they never thought like, or even Marvel, like they never thought like, oh, let's finally do Marvel Zombies. They gave us like 30 minutes of Marvel Zombies, when they could have built a whole TV show around it.
Ironically, there is a Marvel Zombie spinoff coming soon. So,
okay, well, good. I mean, I do hope they lean more into the comic. I enjoyed the first. Actually, I enjoyed all the comics, even though they got real weird after the series 4 or 5. They really went off the rails, but I do like how there's a loop bringing everything kind of back to the original, like plot wise. So, anyways, go read those comics. Go read the Earth 1 comics. I think there's 2 Green Lantern ones.
There's 2 volumes.
Yeah, Gabriel Hardman's art is magnificent. Like, if anything, I like that some of these artists were probably not even. Well, I don't like that they weren't told, but I like seeing their surprise that, like, oh, my art is being used to promote all these things. Gabriel Hardman was one of those people that he retweeted like, yeah, I did these. Go read my books. They're really good. Cool. All right, I think we're at the mature part of the list, and I'm gonna let you guys take this one because I have not read much of The Authority. So, The Authority live action movie. Clay, I'm gonna let you go first, just because you have all these giant books with you.
Yeah, and my other camera is not working now, so I can't show off everything. But The Authority comes out of Stormwatch, and Stormwatch was a Wildstorm series back when Jim Lee was part of Image. And so since he joined DC and he sold everything to them, they're trying to incorporate it. I've seen Grifter was in Flashpoint, the animated movie. I've just seen a few characters integrated a little bit, so it's kind of interesting to see. But Stormwatch was essentially like the Justice League. They were a world response team to problems, and they had a guy run it like Amanda Waller called the Weatherman. And each story kind of like Warren Ellis was the writer during the end of its run before it becomes The Authority. So it's Warren Ellis and Tom Rainey on art. And I'm not really going to talk a lot about Warren Ellis because he has a complicated background. I hate that I don't have the site ready.
We'll have that in the description of the video afterwards, so you guys can go get informed. But we just want to throw that out there. There's definitely some stuff that it's not ideal for the author. But hey, listen, we want to talk about the actual books and the content of it. There's a lot more people that worked on these series too. And we're going to be seeing it in the future. So it's definitely something we want to make you aware of. So make sure to go check that out in the description. It'll be on there after the live stream ends. So go ahead, Clay. And I'll pull up some. I know you were talking about like they're kind of like Justice League. And if you don't believe me, just look at this kind of homage to the Justice League International.
Oh, yeah.
From the Morrison run. It is very exciting. So go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, the first one is Stormwatch, Force of Nature. It kind of gives you some of the team and how they operate. Warren Ellis starts cleaning house pretty early and starts getting rid of characters, killing characters. It's kind of fun to have the ability to just kind of wipe out a team and start adding people to it. So you start to see the building of the authority in this. The second one is Lightning Strikes, where we get more of Jenny Sparks, who is the ghost of the 20th century. She was born 1900, and she will live to the year 2000, because these were all happening in the 90s. And the new child that would be born in the 21st century is Jenny Quantum. So I'm curious, we'll focus on Jenny Quantum in the Authority films, because she is pretty much the spirit of the next 100 years. Let's see here. What is this? A Finer World. This is where we get introduced to Apollo and Midnighter, the Superman and Batman of Stormwatch. And if I have any request, we talked on this before the show. If we get an Authority team, please have Henry Cavill play Apollo, and please have Ben Affleck play Midnighter. That's the only thing I'm asking of James Gunn. Once you get into this, you get to see a lot more violence. Midnighter is a Batman unfiltered. He just creates violence and is just so awesome. When he gets into the Authority, he starts to mentally break down his opponents, and we can talk about that one when we get there. Change or Die is when Superman, essentially a Superman-like character, comes to Stormwatch, or is battling Stormwatch, because he offers a utopia to people. He creates a Garden of Eden that will supply you with whatever you want, because he's part of a super team that has kind of just said, like, look, I'm going to dictate the way things are going to be. And this is really the where that we start talking about the power that the Weatherman has in who we're going to help and who we're not going to help. And it's interesting because the superheroes are like, we're just going to give people anything they want and then they can just figure it out. So they've almost reached this level of godlike that we've always knew the DC characters were. You know, they're above Marvel in the sense they're more than human, and they could. Superman and Wonder Woman are gods. It's great to see Warren Ellis's commentary on this. And then the final one is it's just a collection of some additional stories, but it's Stormwatch Final Orbit. It kind of ends the Stormwatch run before we get into the Authority. We start to get some of the team together in Stormwatch. We get to meet Hawksmoor, who is a man of cities. The origins on these are really strange, so I'm kind of curious how we're going to get to some of them. But Hawksmoor is a man who can travel between cities. He eats pollution and cleans it, but he also thrives on the good and bad of cities. So if there's crime, he stops it because it's such a cancer on the cities, and that's kind of his superhero part. We get to meet essentially what is Hawk Girl, called Swift. In her origin is kind of weird because when she meets Jenny Sparks, Jenny can actually cause some people to evolve with a charge. And so, yeah, there she is in the background, Swift. And at some point early in Stormwatch, Jenny just changes and causes her to alter more, so she becomes more bird-like through the series, which is really odd. But when it's drawn by Frank Quietly, it looks awesome. But during the Ellis run is 12 issues with Brian Hitch. Brian Hitch does some incredible art. We start talking about widescreen action when he starts doing this and starts this specific run. And it's incredible to see the layout, the scope. He makes you feel like you're watching a movie with every panel.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Hitch is also known for designing the TARDIS. And so I'm curious if they would bring Brian back to help design. I mean, granted, we have the whole layout of the ship in here. We have what they call the bleed, which is where the Authority rides, which is between dimensions. So they're not quite here, but they're also fighting other enemies through another dimension, which we get in the story. A godlike being has taken over Great Britain, and they're in an alternate universe that is going to invade ours, and we have to have the Authority save us. The last story in here is freaking fantastic, and I love it because it is essentially like kind of I want to say Lovecraftian type horror, but these worms from space come to Earth to start destroying or start reverting it back to like a methane air or something. It's just really fucking weird. But they essentially learned that these were like the gods of some level, and the Authority has to kill them or they're going to destroy Earth. A lot of fun. It's going to get really weird. What did you think of the Brian Hitch run, CJ?
It blew my mind when I first read it. I was like, this is crazy. It's superheroes, but it's also high concept sci-fi and
political commentary.
Like, yeah, all the good stuff. And Hitch, like you mentioned, popularized the widescreen stuff and took it over to Marvel and did the Ultimates, which was a large inspiration on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, yeah, he is like one of the most skilled artists ever, and yeah, dude is a phenomenon. And if we get like a fraction of that on screen, I'm just gonna be like, oh my god.
Yeah, because the Carrier is a ship that runs on a tiny galaxy. It's a sentient being that they somehow are able to. It takes them in and out of the bleed and takes them where they need to be, essentially.
That sounds a lot like, and it makes, I don't know if Morrison came up with that, if it was Ellis or whoever, but it sounds a lot like Ellis. Phantom X, who is a Morrison character, like his ship, whatever it's called,
Eva.
The world. Oh yeah, Eva. Yeah, the world is the part that lives in. It's very complicated. Go Google Phantom X. As Clay was talking, I was checking. So DC Infinite has a lot of this stuff. And I kind of there's one thing I found that I kind of want. This logo in the Authority. How the hell?
Oh my god! I forgot.
I'm gonna read this. It's by Keith Giffen, Alan Grant, and Simon Bisley. So I know it's gonna be a banger, and probably very crude. I've seen Simon Bisley in person. I've met him before. I've been to one of his panels where he was drawing off against another artist, and boy, things got real wild there. But yeah, CJ, what else are you excited for about the Authority? I know. Whoops. I know Clay kind of gave us a little rundown of everything, but what do you think?
I'm really excited to see. Like I like the whole team, but Jenny Sparks should be fun. You know, the whole power set and the whole acerbic British nature, and also. Gunn and Safran has said that the Authority is their springboard to bring in other Wildstorm characters, and Wildstorm has always been a part of the DC universe I would like to see utilized more. So, if we get that, I'd like to see more Stormwatch, Wildcats.
What's your favorite Wildcats run?
My favorite Wildcats run, I think, is the Chris Claremont brief run he did.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know he wrote Wildcats.
I will always go with the Joe Casey, Dustin Wynn, when they became like
a great one.
Corporate company that was just going to make everlasting batteries and just fix problems. That one's fun.
I am a big fan of. I mean, I know he's just talking Wildstorm characters like Grifter. Like, man, Jim Lee in the 90s was designing some bomb ass characters, and that one's one that I feel has like. It's such a simple design of just the bandana around, like, in his face. Grifter, I really like the design. Like, it's just such a cool. And I'm sure if we ever get him live, there'll be like thousands of Grifter cosplay at the conventions because it's such an accessible costume to put together. So I'm very excited for that.
Actually, you'll like this. On last year's Emerald City Comic Con, I met somebody who was actually dressed up as Zealot from Wildcats, like the whole swords and everything.
Oh, whoa. That's good. Because that's not an easy cosplay to pull off.
Yeah, she pulled it off, and I was like, wow. And she loved that I knew who Zealot was. So yeah,
that's when it pays off, when you pick an obscure character to cosplay, and then one person recognizes it. It almost makes it worthwhile, right? Because there's at least two of you that know who that character is. So
yeah,
cool. Let's talk about Paradise Lost, which to me
I have
felt
one more volume of Authority to go through. The cool part that you mentioned, CJ, about how Brian Hitch's run on the Ultimates was kind of the springboard for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the guy who wrote it, Mark Miller, he has a 12-issue run with art by Frank Quietly, which is just beautiful. Like, I absolutely love the cover on this. I mean, just a team lineup.
Damn it. I promise I've done this before.
Yeah. So, we get, the happy couple, Midnighter and Apollo, Jack Hawksmoor, Swift, the Doctor, and the Engineer. Yeah. Now, the Doctor is probably my favorite character of the Authority, because he is supposed to. They say he is a shaman of Earth. There's every generation there's a shaman of Earth, and the Doctor is this generation's. But he also has a really bad drug problem. He likes to party. These are not your heroes that you look up to. The Authority that was kind of the thing in the 90s, was everything was going to be dark and black and creepy. And they made just dark superheroes. Yeah. And but it's great. It's fun. It's real disturbing. There is a version of the Avengers that gets put together to deal with the Authority. And I will say, trigger warning for some of the things that happen to them, because it is really messed up. But then that was the 90s. They would just write anything, and you could get really messed up stuff. Like, that's how we got Garth Ennis and Preacher.
But to your point, to that point, Clay, and we were talking about this a little bit before the show, I think they have found very interesting ways to adapt some of that material from the 90s. I'm specifically talking about The Boys. The comics are edgy and weird, and I haven't read all of it, but I don't think, like, the show has just done so many smart choices about what to keep from this and then what to update. So I think if DC can do something very similar to distill the essence of what the Authority is in those characters and update them for the times that we are now, or even make commentary maybe about their origins from the 90s, I think they'll be very successful. And I think we could even end up with TV shows about the Authority or Wildstorm. Like, maybe Wildstorm could be the spin-off TV show that comes out of the Authority. We were talking about bringing in the Elite, which are, I mean, they're really cool characters. If you haven't seen the Superman of the Elite, read the comic, but also there's an animated movie, or even Morrison's latest run with Clayman, I believe, Superman and the Authority. Like, they're really interesting characters. These are all really interesting characters that I'm very much looking forward to seeing.
Action Comics 775 by Joe Kelly. What's so good about Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which was his like one issue commentary about what is Superman. And it was, and it's fantastic. It's an incredible issue. And so he created a response to the Authority called the Elite. And Manchester Black is essentially like the Jenny Sparks of the team. And but just really oozing with evil and bad. Like, Manchester Black is like, we'll save you at any cost. We don't care about anything. They're on another level that the DC heroes. This kind of shows the kind of power that they have, because the Authority kind of doesn't care about people at one point. Like, they want to help certain people, but they're actually warned by the president at the time. So Clinton appears in that run to tell them to kind of back down. There's like so much I want to get into.
We will probably do a follow-up Authority stuff later on, like closer to that. We'll definitely reach back out to CJ for that one, because I think you guys just really seem into it, and it'll give me more time to read some Authority stuff, because as much as I want to, sometimes I look at those 90s covers and I'm like, maybe later.
Oh, but you know what? The Frank Quietly covers from the Authority are fucking on point. They're so goddamn good. But Swift's character is from Tibet, and there's some commentary on China and what's happened to her history. The Engineer is a character that just kind of shows up in the first issue as like a second engineer, because the Authority came together after Stormwatch, with people from Stormwatch joining some of the team that were working with, I forget the character's name. I want to say the United, who's like their Superman, essentially. And it's weird because Stormwatch gets canceled just because of budgetary reasons. Like the UN just says, "Oh, we can't afford you anymore," so they get shut down. And the Authority is essentially made up with the superheroes who kind of want to make a difference. Like they don't want to just fight street fights. They want to bring down dictatorships, fascism, and there's an opening where the Authority goes to a third world country, finds the leader, kills everyone else, throws the leader to the people, and essentially gives them I think it's the Doctor tells them ways they can kill this man. Like, these are not really great heroes. These are really dark people. And the darker it gets is really in the second run. Who is it? By Miller. Like, he makes shit really kind of dark in here, but it's great and beautiful to see it through Quietly's art.
Oh, Mark Miller.
Mark Miller, yeah.
Okay, I was like, Frank Miller wrote The Authority too? I was like, oh shit.
We'll be up his alley.
Yeah, but when you see like the stuff from the Doctor, the way the Doctor sees the world and how he sees all the past Doctors and they advise him on things, I mean, God, if that's on screen, that'll be beautiful. I mean, there's just some amazing pages in The Authority that I hope we get to see live action. Cool. It is a darker book, but it's dealing with a lot of political stuff, and so there's like people are out to kill people. Like there is a scene where their giant man is blown up below the kneecap and is just laying in a city with two stub legs in pain, and you just get to see the Authority and this Avengers team fight and tear each other apart.
After watching episode, I think 1 of season 3 of The Boys, nothing surprises me anymore about how you can kill a person in these comics. So, if you've seen that, I think it was that first one where that guy goes into that other guy. Anyways, if you've seen it, you've seen it.
But by putting the Authority in this world, they have a counter to the Justice League. And I'm assuming there will be a Justice League, or does the Justice League come from the Authority existing because the Authority is manipulative and political, and the Justice League can be a counter to that?
Like, they're the reason that we need a Justice League. I mean,
yeah, people who are trying to help people, not just solve a problem.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, we'll revisit the Authority in the future. I think there's a lot there. I do want to talk about what I thought was the most like this is marketing announcement. The Paradise Lost action TV show. This was announced as like a Game of Thrones, but at Themyscira before Diana was born. So obviously HBO, even though they currently have a Game of Thrones type show, they want another one for the future, which makes perfect sense. But either way, I am very excited because part of the things that I enjoyed the most about the past 2 Wonder Woman movies was the time we spent in Themyscira. And I read, we read comics of before, like back in the day when they had to kind of fight either the Greek gods or just other deities and stuff like that. Or even if they just kind of go based on the feel of the latest run, the Wonder Woman Historia. Like if they just kind of bring some of that stuff, I think so. I think that would be really interesting. But CJ, what do you think about this Paradise Lost show?
It makes sense because Themyscira has a really big place, and there are plenty of Amazons you could explore, like Artemis. You could do Flora Yar potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or you could also do Nubia.
Nubia has such a rich history, like being like even from before. So yeah, you're right.
Yep. And I know one of my friends, Stephanie Williams, has written a series of Nubia comics that are amazing and could be the blueprint to great lead. And as you mentioned, Danny,
this your friend wrote this book?
Yeah, the Nubia and Bumblebee story.
Yeah, she wrote in this book. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. And and like you mentioned, the Historia could be great because, again, showing the creation of the Amazons. So yeah, there's a rich thing that's happened to there, and I definitely feel that's a great way to build upon the Wonder Woman mythos and show, okay, what's special about this island full of warrior women.
Yeah.
what I'd love to see too is like we now know that shows can be done to the level of Sandman, like that. So when I look at a book like Historia and go, we have to portray gods like that version of Zeus that's in the book is so cool looking, and like I want to see that come alive. Like I want to see some of the paintings and the work, like especially in the last book by Nicholas Scott. That artwork is fucking fantastic. But yeah, if this is going to be anything from the comics, I hope it's Historia.
Yeah, cool. Now, we're going on to probably just my favorite announcement because I am who I am. This is the Brave and the Bold. This is gonna be the Batman, Robin type of thing. There's so many things on here that I love about this announcement. First of all, the fact that we're gonna have 2 live action Batman, right? Because Gunn addressed like the Matt Reeves stuff still ongoing. It'll be part of this Elseworlds, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then the fact that they're bringing in Damian, who's such a brat. He's not my favorite Robin, but I do love Damian. Also, the fact that it looks like Gunn wants to pull a lot from the Morrison run, which is so expansive. There's so much there. Like I said, Morrison managed to distill the essence of Batman from all the Silver Age and the Golden Age, and just bring all that stuff and put it into a bit of a contemporary time from when it was coming out. It was just such a fantastic run. So I am super hyped about this. I also really like the idea that we could have Dick Grayson be Batman for a while, because that's a big part of this Batman and the Batman and Robin run from Morrison. So,
well, would we see Disco Nightwing?
Now you're asking the real questions.
I think that would be. I mean, even if we just get it in a flashback, I think that
would be amazing.
That's the least we could do for George Perez, who gave us so much, to put this going in the live action somewhere.
Oh, I would love to see it. Now, his Gunn's recommendation was Batman Incorporated, right?
It was just the Morrison run. Yeah, overall.
Oh, okay. Well, I started Batman Incorporated.
Fall under that eventually.
Yeah, but that is part of it. Yep. A quick plug, RCB podcast, which I'm a part of. They have on one of their Patreon series. They just go through the whole run, like all of Morrison's run, which is fantastic. But CJ, how do you feel about this Brave and the Bold announcement?
It sounds awesome. Listen, I think one of the best things about Batman is his allies. Like, the Bat family is so good and has so many great characters. So for Gunn to be touching on that is both separating it from Reeves, since Reeves has a Batman that's just starting out, and Gunn's will have a Batman that's a little bit more experienced, and taps into his. I believe that Bruce Wayne created Batman to be the person he needed all those years in Crime Alley. And the Robins, Batgirl, Red Hood, Nightwing, etc., all that follows. So for them to touch on that, on him building a family after he lost one, is just great. And as you mentioned before, this will be a time when Dick Grayson is in there, so that will be fun. So how does Dick operate differently from Batman than Bruce did Batman? Because Bruce was all, I am vengeance, I am the night, and Dick is more of a wisecracker who everybody likes. So that'll be
fun.
I'm always curious because Batman trusts Alfred the most. Who's next? Who's his next 3 that he trusts the most?
I would say Alfred, Jim Gordon, and Dick Grayson are the 3 people in his corner, or at the very least, we're willing to be honest with them. So those 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say maybe Tim Drake as well. Like maybe he would be a good
Tim Drake,
4th.
definitely, because Tim really helped Batman out during a rough spot. He was going through Jason Todd's death. So there's.
I will say, I know there's people I've seen on some takes on the internet where are like, well, if you bring in Batman's Bruce Wayne, actual son, that lessens the other ones, and I'm like, I don't think you read the run. I don't think you understand how this family dynamic works. If anything, Damian probably struggled the most to join the family because Batman already had all these kids, kind of, right?
Yeah.
And he just, his approach was so different. He was raised very different. You just really have to read the Morrison run. I think you'll I think if you're new to Batman, it's gonna be a bit of a tall order to kind of get into. But once you get going, I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think the best use of the sidekick in films has, with a kid's sidekick is Logan. I mean, the way that you have that portrayed is like so perfect. Their relationship, with this man who's been alive for however long, and this kid who has a connection to, like
Yeah.
how I want to see those relationships. I would love to see the different relationships between Bruce, Dick, Damian, Tim, all of them. Like what's the difference between them?
Yeah. All right, let's we could probably talk about Batman all day, just like the Authority. I'm sure you know what, we'll probably do a Morrison run.
I mean, I want to see
later in the
Midnighter
future.
meet Bruce Wayne. I want to see Midnighter Batman
They're
team up.
they're just gonna grunt at each other like
I want to see Batman have to pull Midnighter off of someone that he's beating to death.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I want to see Superman and Apollo team up. Like I want to see so much from the Authority.
There's so much. Excited. Yeah. All right, next one. We're getting a Booster Gold TV show. First of all, I think if you've been watching the Next Issue podcast, we've been asking for this for a long time.
Yes.
So thank you, James Gunn. We feel seen, we feel heard. So I'm gonna throw it at CJ first, since I think Clay and I have talked a lot about this already. CJ, how do you feel about this announcement for Booster Gold?
Oh, Booster Gold is right up Gunn's alley, especially with Peacemaker, because again, Peacemaker was, dealing with the whole his messed up family and the fact that he's trying to be a better person. And Booster Gold kind of falls into that same role because he comes from the future and fakes being a hero, but then has to be a hero for real. So that is going to be great, and I hope that whoever's cast as Booster has the comedic chops as well as the emotional stuff.
Did you get to look at any of Donald Faison and Legends as Booster Gold? I mean, I don't think they ever actually called him Booster Gold. I don't remember.
They confirmed his identity as John Michael Carter, but sadly the show was canceled, and season 8 would have been Booster Gold. So
yeah. I also want to just touch on real quick. Dan Jurgens, creator or co-creator of Booster Gold, has a little thread on Twitter. I think you guys should go check it out. One of my favorite things about all these announcements too was seeing creators react, because unfortunately it feels like the comics are super disconnected from anything that's going on.
Yeah,
and I mean that
Brian
as far
Hitch,
as the creative.
Brian Hitch didn't know, but I mean he drew the Authority in '99, so it's old work for him.
Yeah, so yeah, go check this out, just because it really he starts with just really appreciating the reaction to Booster Gold, which as a creator I think that's probably one of the most satisfactory feelings. Like obviously getting paid for it would be even better. But at least people appreciating your artwork, I think would be cool. So yeah, go check that out. But Clay, any thoughts on Booster Gold? And then I'm gonna come back to you, CJ, about what you would like to see, what other characters Booster Gold should interact.
Obviously, I want to see him with Ted Kord. I want to see. I know they wouldn't put Nathan Fillion in the role, but I still think a Nathan Fillion Booster Gold would be so fun to see with an Alan Tudyk, Ted Kord. I know they're older guys that I'm just they would be fun to just see team up together. But that's kind of my wish. We don't really know what the story is going to be for Booster Gold. It'd be interesting if Booster Gold returned or is from the future and he comes back. I'm just having a brain fart on it. We see it through his eyes. We see the DC films created through Booster Gold's eyes or the universe. So I would say cameos in every episode. I want to see cool fucking heroes and villains in everything.
Yeah. CJ, what about you?
I would love to see more time travel stuff. Skeets has to be part of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's that. And as far as villains, there are plenty of villains you can face off, like Vandal Savage, Immortal Caveman, Perdegaton, Time Traveling Tyrants. There are just a few villains that he could definitely go. Oh, Kronos. Oh, that's a great villain. Yeah. There are plenty of villains that he could face off against, or heck, maybe show how his travels in the past are good or worse.
Yeah,
I think it would be great to lead into I can't believe this is the Justice League type show. You know, at the end of the run, Booster gets to meet the Justice League team that we remember from the Giffen run. You know, and see him meet Batman, Guy Gardner, Ted Kord. That would just be so much fun.
I think also a Quantum Leap type of show where Booster Gold, like obviously he doesn't take over the body, but like he has to go and try to fix some stuff, or like where like I don't know, it could get really complicated. It could just really involve a lot of Elseworld things or like alternate timelines in the future. I also, for as bad as a lot of people didn't enjoy Heroes in Crisis, I just want one episode based on this page.
Yeah.
Where if you read Heroes in Crisis, these are kind of like the sessions, the confessional type of sessions that these heroes have about their issues, and I love that there's so much going on in like Booster Gold overall seems like a pretty happy-go-lucky person, but I think there's a lot more that sometimes he doesn't let on. Now this one kind of went a little too far because it spun it into that whole the gift story, which was really weird in the Batman series.
Yeah.
But I think like just the feeling of like a series like this, which we saw with Peacemaker a little bit, right? Like he's a troubled individual. He's got a lot of issues and he's had to deal with a lot of family stuff and just his upbringing. I think Booster Gold is also kind of a tragic hero because in the future he's kind of a loser. He just happened to come into this, he got this technology and he's able to come into the past and rebuild himself in a different image. But I think reckoning with his actual timeline could also be, and then there's also like the whole thing with his kid eventually becoming what's his name from Legends,
Rip Hunter.
Yeah, Rip Hunter. There's so much for Booster Gold to do, and obviously overall this will probably be a comedic take, but I think comedy it's embellished when you have like some dramatic moments to offset a lot of that stuff. So cool. All right. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow live action movie, which was pretty much told like this. So I know Gunn said a lot of these are not going to be adaptations of the comics.
But Tom King's part of his crew.
This one feels like he really just wants to do an adaptation of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Now, CJ, have you read this book?
I have, and it's spacefaring Supergirl, and it was really, really fun. She has a sword. She's traveling with Crypto.
Yeah. It's definitely more of a fantasy take. I do want to say this is Tom King and Bilquis Evely, because Evely probably does not get as much credit as she should for this series. Yeah. The art in this series is out of this world, no pun intended. So make sure to go check this out. Clay, have you read this one?
No, but Shelby ordered it, so it should be coming in.
Okay, so yeah, that's another side effect, I guess we'll call it, from these announcements that I don't think Marvel's been fully able to capitalize on. That all of these books that are kind of like that we're talking about, and that James Gunn and some of the creators have kind of brought to the forefront, they are being like they're number one sellers right now on like different bookstores and Amazon and stuff. Like I feel like that's the one thing that Marvel still needs to finish off that bridge to get people back into the comics, because that's what we like to do in the show. Like we always try to tie back into the comics. CJ, I know you're always also like, if you follow CJ on Twitter, which you should, great follow. Like always talking about like, yeah, these are the comics. This is the source material. Like this, if you want more of this and you don't want to wait till 2025, you can go read this now.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree. Like, at the end of the Shazam trailer, there was like, if you like what you see, here's some. So that would be stretch. Like, say, if you like Kang the Conqueror, here are books to read after you watch Quantumania. Like, yes, please, more of that, and also more free comics at comic book screenings. Because if you like this, give it Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and look, we know
Invincible
like
sold out within
yeah,
the series premiere. So yes, they're definitely yes. Please, more
people
of
want
it.
people want more of the stuff. They just don't know like about it sometimes. Like it is pretty intimidating sometimes. I remember when I first got into comic books back in 2012. Like it was intimidating going to the shop and looking at it at the wall and everything. Like even now as a veteran, like you still go in and you're like, oh my god, there's so much. Um, cool.
Yeah, I couldn't get back into the X-Men if I tried because I'd have to like spend at least $20 a week just to
Worth
try to catch up.
it.
Yeah.
Just get that Marvel Unlimited subscription.
No.
All right. We have one more thing to talk about as far as these announcements. So, and it's because we are children in this podcast. If you have heard of the past few episodes, we've been talking about things. And yeah,
Now we're going to talk about our Swamp Thing.
That's right.
And not our Man Thing.
Yeah, so go ahead,
The best thing that anyone's going to get out of researching Swamp Thing is going to be Bernie Wrightson art. It is just the most beautiful stuff to see. Him having a creature rise out of the muck and all the details he puts in it, the inking, the darkness, it's just so goddamn good. In the beginning, it was Len Wein, creator of Wolverine, created Swamp Thing, and I believe Swamp Thing and Man Thing were created like within a month of each other for Marvel and DC.
Yeah, I believe the art, like the creators were roommates at some point, I believe, and like they both had. There's a whole story that you probably know better than I do. Like there was a plant in the room, and they both kind of got a similar idea. And it's very very interesting anecdote.
But it would be great to see Man Thing and Swamp Thing in live action stories because, like, just Werewolf by Night, I was just so happy to see Ted show up. That just made my day. And I would say, like, if you're checking out Swamp Thing, everyone's going to recommend the Alan Moore run. Do you guys have other runs you recommend?
Scott Snyder's run is great. Yes. I know they know Snyder is the Batman guy, but he wrote a phenomenal Swamp Thing series that y'all should check out.
Yeah, Snyder is also the horror guy, and Swamp Thing really lends itself a lot to that. I will say in the presentation they use Fabuk's art from a one shot with Tom King, which I also really enjoyed. I'll put a link to the book as well afterwards in the description of the video. But like if you just want to read it, I think I don't remember what the story's called, but it's just one. It's a one. Yeah, it's just like a 160-page story with Jason Fabuk art, which I love Fabuk. You guys know. So yeah, really, really exciting stuff. I'm pumped for Swamp Thing. I think I enjoyed the show that we got. I did drop off. Like once they announced the cancellation, it's hard for me to like continue a show because I don't want to get too invested and then just not get any more. But as you can see, Clay. Oh, that's the.
I got both. I've got this. This was the series that was part of the.
Okay.
Streaming. They got canceled because of a $40 million error, but it has the best look. Like it gets into some real gothic horror stuff, and it is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Blue Devil. Like the weird, obscure character from the 80s. And Blue Devil is in this, and I wanted to see more. But like as you get near the end of the series, you see how they kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend checking this out for the visuals. Most of all, you get some incredible performances. You'll just get mad because as you watch them, you'll go, I hope there's more. And then you'll get to the end, and it bums you out. Do check out Dick Durock was the Swamp Thing in both movies and the TV show. The TV show is kind of a weird animal. I don't really know how to describe it other than kind of a Swamp Thing is the monster of the week. So he interacts with kids and goes on adventures. It was a weird series to pick up. And the two movies are very camp, but a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of Swamp Thing. I think the introduction of I hope they really stick to some of the more basic Swamp Thing stuff, and then later on they can evolve into like the green and the connection with it, with all that. I would love to see Animal Man eventually come into the fold once that's expanded.
Rot World. Rot World
Yes.
would be amazing to see.
Oh, dude, Rod.
Oh,
my
dude.
God.
But go into the red, like, you know, the way Animal Man, like my favorite run was when he went to Vertigo. Like, I know people will talk about Morrison, but like when he went to Vertigo, I believe Steve Pugh was doing the art. And Steve Delano, I think that's who was writing this at the time. And I just loved it because it showed a superhero who was a dad and how he had to balance being a husband, how he had to balance with his kids, and in the way he saw the world now that he was connected to all the animals. And it became a very, like, you know, pro-vegetarian dad. And he had, you know, like one of his kids was a big meat eater. And they would graphically show in the art just how meat looked. And it was cool visuals. It was one of my favorite runs.
Nice. Okay, before we come into we want to talk about some of our own things that maybe we want to see as far as that. We did talk about a lot of reading recommendations. James Gunn had his own recommendations, kind of. So other than Supergirl, A Woman of Tomorrow, which that one was kind of the big one. Like I said, he tweeted out that he wants a lot of these to just feel like these comics. So All-Star Superman, which there's so many reprints of this. Like there's these comics because they are a little bit older. They're a lot more accessible as far as like how you can get them. Go check out your libraries. Go check out Hoopla, which is the library digital service. If you have the DC Infinite app, or just go to like used bookstores because these have been reprinted to death. Except I think Swamp Thing's kind of hard to find. Like some volumes of Swamp Thing are hard to find.
There are different volumes, like the one I have is an Origin one. I know they've collected 5 volumes of the Alan Moore run.
There's so much authority, and I think we will definitely have to revisit this as well, just to kind of see, like maybe as we get some more news of what the authority is going to feel like and look like, we can probably put together some stuff for that. So we'll do a show on that in the future as well. I will never stop recommending Grant Morrison's run on Batman, just all of it, like Batman and Robin, Batman Inc., like that whole thing. That Morrison writing Batman is one of the reasons that even into the New 52 didn't change that much, because obviously Scott Snyder took over the main series, but some of the other stuff like Batman and Robin continued on into Batman and Robin and Batman Inc. So
I do wish there was more Morrison Quietly stuff. I do love their team ups.
Yeah, they're just such a good team. And then Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, which Alan Moore is not the only, like we talked about, is not the only person that's wrote Swamp Thing, but I think it's definitely one of the like just longest runs. I like that they put it on their Black Label now as they reprint it.
Yeah.
So, but do you guys have any other things? Did you guys bring any other stuff to, like, reading recommendations for any of these series? I know we talked about a lot of them throughout just the conversation, but if we left anything out, we can talk about it now.
I would say,
And actually, CJ, I'm gonna open your article right now from Collider just to see. I'm sure. Did you read anything specific while you were putting that together?
Yes, I did. Frankenstein, Agents of Shade, it introduced a modern version of the Creature Commandos.
Okay.
And if you want to see more, learn more about the Green Lantern mythos, Green Lantern by Jeff Johns, particularly.
Everything up to the New 52s pretty, like, I think even after the New 52s, like, it's still good, but I think before that it's still like Green Lantern Rebirth and all that stuff. It's super solid.
Yes. If you guys want another good Supergirl story, I also recommend Superman, Batman, Supergirl from Krypton.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
I love that. That's one of the runs that I'm still hunting down a few issues of that I don't have yet.
And if you guys are interested in the Authority and want more classic superheroics, I definitely recommend Grant Morrison and Howard Porter's JLA, particularly the New World Order, because that is a phenomenal superhero comic. That's like,
yeah, it's so damn good. Like, I just remember when they said Morrison was going to be doing Justice League, and the art in it was fucking unbelievable, and every issue paid off. Like, that probably, with the Morrison recommendations, it'd be interesting to see if James Gunn adapts his Justice League. My personal favorite would be someone to adapt Joe Kelly's Justice League run, because he eventually he successfully made the Super Friends in the comic, and it's so great. Like, I just love that book because he just created, like, there weren't characters from the comic or in the show that were in the comic, so he just created them.
Yeah, so Derpy Entertainment in the chat. I forgot about, sorry guys, we got so much into this that I forgot about the chat. Thanks for watching live. Promiscuous Time Traveler visits us every once in a while. Derpy Entertainment mentioning it looks like we only have like 25% or to 50% of the slate, which James Gunn did mention this was not all of it. This was just a part of what they were looking into. I think the rest of the stuff, there's probably still trying to figure out maybe like what legacy actors they're going to keep moving forward and stuff like that. So like just logistics of all that stuff. So yeah, I think one thing I do want to address also the name of this whole like chapter 1 or whatever James Gunn's calling it. It's Gods and Monsters, which I think as CJ and Clay have mentioned, like a lot of these characters are very godlike. I think that's a big distinction from Marvel characters. Like a lot of the characters in DC, they are pretty much gods, and some of them are literal gods. Like and then also monsters with like some of the creatures like Swamp Thing and the Creature Commandos. But what I wanted to talk about was, have you guys seen the Justice League Gods and Monsters animated movie? Because
yes.
I love that movie so much. I'm gonna revisit it now this week that it's kind of up in the, like, just because of the name. I think they took the same concept and it's just such a fun thing. But I highly recommend that animated film. It's just really good, like a one-shot type of thing. You don't need to know anything going into it. So a lot of fun. I'm glad to use that name because also when people are Googling Gods and Monsters, hopefully the movie will come up and it'll also you can revisit. We do have a question here. Or not a question, comment. I do think James Gunn DC on Endgame movie is going to be Kingdom Come from what he teased. That would make sense. I think even building everything up to like Magog being like ultimately one of the end game type of villains, like after a big chapter thing, because he's kind of both a god and a monster. If you've read some of that stuff, I really like that. So, okay, do you guys have any final thoughts or comments on the DC slate? I know I wanted to bring it up. I mean, I wanted us to talk about this first because we're already almost an hour and a half into this conversation. But do y'all have any final thoughts on this announcements?
I believe in Gunn. I mean, I'm a huge Guardians fan. The stuff he's done with superheroes has been fantastic. The holiday special, like he loves to play in that world. And I mean, like one of his first movies was the specials, so like he seems to want to have fun and he's finding the right people. And that's the key. Like he is head of creative. He's not going to be making all of these, but he is essentially going to help mold it. So the people he picks, I'm very excited to see who's going to manage some of these properties and where it's going to evolve to. Like, obviously, there's no Justice League listed, but we're going to get a bunch of pieces. Will there be a Justice League that's a counter to the Authority? Mm-hmm. Because we have a Superman, we have a Batman, we have a Hawkgirl. I would say the Doctor is more like probably like Dr. Fate. In the DC world, and the Engineer, who would you compare the Engineer to in the DC world?
Honestly, I feel like with the Engineer's ability to manipulate metal and stuff, she always kind of felt like a techno version of Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, that would be the counter to the Authority. I'm just really curious to see. Like, there's a lot of cool things, and rereading the Authority is a really dark place. Like that is an R-rated superhero team, and it's interesting that he's going to put it out there, and it may drive us to see a more hopeful Justice League, a more hopeful Superman.
And now, CJ, before I let you go, Clay and the comment from Derpy kind of triggered a thing that I forgot we were going to talk about because I didn't put it in the notes. James Mangold just tweeted out like a Swamp Thing image on like the day after the announcements, and I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah.
And then both the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline reported that he is in early talks to direct it. And look, Logan is a damn masterpiece. So if he does that, I will. If he does Swamp Thing, I will flip out. And you know what? I say go full circle. Bring back Hugh Jackman and have him play Alec Holland. Like, we know Jackman has the talent for it, and that would be a great thing. Yes, I know he's coming back as Wolverine, but I don't know. That would be awesome to see.
Whoa, dude, you
I-
just
I would
blew my
like
And that
Swing?
would make 2 Len Wein creations that Jackman plays if he does.
Yes.
I would like Sam Neill to play Swamp Thing.
Oh, that's an even better one. That would be awesome because he's done.
I think Sam Neill in his like Mouth of Madness, Omen, like the horror stuff he's done kind of adds to that element of Swamp Thing. I would just love to see that because just how the Swamp Thing deals with the green, the death of the planet, global warming. We're going to get into all these political issues. It's going to make the DC fanboys angry. But those are some of the best stories. I mean, Alan Moore really was, this pro-nature vegetarian character in Swamp Thing. And so it's so great to see. Hopefully those stories will be adapted. You said the Scott Snyder stuff was your favorite.
Yeah.
What was it? What were any of the main standout stories you remember from that run?
Rot World and the opening arc, like the struggle with identity, because again, that has always been a thing with Swamp Thing. Am I a man? Am I a monster? And that's kind of what's drawn me to characters.
Yeah.
Like, Hellboy, The Thing, etc. I love those type of characters because it's just like everybody thinks, oh, if you get superpowers, your life is awesome. No, sometimes it will suck, and Swamp Thing is a prime example of that. So
yeah.
All right, we got some. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think where does Alec Holland stop and Swamp Thing begin? Is Swamp Thing even Alec Holland, or is it just like remnants of his memory? Derpy Entertainment has some choices for directing if Gunn doesn't direct Superman. I'm gonna shut the first one down because
Bryan Singer's never coming back.
No, Bryan Singer, he's done. But I love Sam Raimi and I love Steven Spielberg. I think with James Gunn writing and one of these other creators, I think they could get that feeling of the All-Star Superman that we talked about. I mean, I'm sure there's so many directors that could capture that feeling, but these two definitely. Look, in Bryan Singer, he had a shot at the movie. I think Superman Returns, I think it's a fine movie. I remember there's some stuff that I didn't fully enjoy, but Brandon Routh as Superman, I think he really captured that feeling. So,
he's the best thing out of that.
Okay, now CJ, please let us know if you had any final thoughts. I know we kind of derailed with Mangold, but I did want to talk about that.
It's all good. I was going to bring up Mangold for my final thoughts, but I am genuinely excited. I love DC's characters. I think Superman is one of the greatest fictional characters ever created. I love Swamp Thing to death, so I'm happy that's Swamp Thing. And I am eager to see if the Authority. So yeah, bring it on. And yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I do want to see Superman face the Authority and the Elite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be so much fun.
Manchester Black would be a perfect villain for a supervillain.
Yeah, I want to see the Carrier. I want to see it travel through the bleed. I want to see visuals I've never seen before in the ideas that they put together in these comics, because it deals with multiverses that we are just commonplace with now. Mm-hmm. I'm just excited about the Authority. And the Stormwatch reads are pretty fun just to watch, kind of the destruction of the 90s is what I felt like. But then the books that come out of it are so 90s, it's just funny to watch the evolution of comics.
I did Derby comment. See, I would let Ben Affleck direct that Batman film though. I'm not mad at that. Look, Ben Affleck is a great director, I think. So go watch Argo if you haven't. And if you haven't, why haven't you? But go watch Argo. Great film. I also really enjoy The Town. I think I don't know if
The Town is amazing. That's another one y'all should watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. So this was a lot of fun for sure. And like I said, we could probably spend 3 more hours talking about all this stuff. But I do want to touch on some more recent things. And then CJ, we're going to kick it off to you for a previously on the next issue segment. So just tell us a little bit about what you've been reading or watching. And I'll chime in because I'm seeing from your list, I got a few of those things as well. So go ahead.
In the world of comics, I have recently read Bloodline Daughter of Blade, which is amazing. Like, if you love Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Teen Wolf, definitely up your alley. And if you love the Blade movies, great pick.
Yeah.
Yes. I read the DC Power, a celebration annual, which celebrates many of DC's Black heroes. Like I said, one of my friends has a story in it, and if you want to know more about, like, Jon Stewart has a story, Cyborg, Black Lightning, it's good stuff. The recent Split Witch series from Steve Orlando and Sarah Pichelli.
Oh my god, that second issue, like, I love the first issue, but this second issue like really solidified, because my fear was that it was just gonna be like a one good story and then like kind of peter off, but then, like, oh my god, yeah, what they've set up here. I think we talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago when the first one came out.
Yeah.
This feels to me like kind of making Wanda have her own type of like heroes for hire story. Like the concept of the door for those without hope, like, it's really interesting. And I'm a big fan of both Steve Orlando and Sarah Pichelli. Like, it's been really, really fun.
Oh, that's amazing. I love those.
Yeah, I got the variants. This week was the Planet of the Apes variant, so I bought a bunch of Planet of the Apes covers that I'm excited about.
That's interesting. I think leading up to Marvel's relaunching the series, right? Or a series.
Yes. We will have a new Planet of the Apes series in April from David F. Walker and Dave Watcher.
Oh, yes. I love David Walker's stuff.
Yes,
cool.
No, ironically, circling back to Danny's Heroes for Hire thing, he wrote a Power Man and Iron Fist miniseries that's criminally underrated. So check that out.
Yes,
and also check out his Image Comics Bitter Root with Sanford Green. Good stuff.
That is the best.
And TV wise, I checked out Poker Face. Really great. It feels like a modern day Columbo, and Natasha Lyonne is. And of course, The Last of Us. Just
so good this week.
So good.
Oh my gosh.
This week
did not expect what I got, and I'm saying it's probably one of the best TV episodes of the year.
Amen to that, brother. I never expected a post-apocalyptic version of Up. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett definitely deserve Emmys this year.
There's a lot of reasons why I want to go back and watch White Lotus, but seeing that he was in White Lotus, it's another one. I love. Well, I'm gonna go back to Poker Face. I've watched the first episode. The pilot it's a lot of fun. I didn't really know what the show was gonna be about until I don't know. It's really well done. I mean, it is Ryan Johnson doing it. But yeah, the cast is great. I'm a big fan of what's his name? Benjamin Bratt. So it's really fun to see him in this show. And yeah, The Last of Us too. Like I love
What'd he do?
Oh no.
We lost him.
Where'd you go? Come back, Danny.
I will say, like, I've heard the same thing.
I'll be out in a sec.
That it was like Columbo. You're the second person to say it's like Columbo with the guest stars, and every episode's just the setup and just the way it goes and plays out. And Natasha Lyonne is fantastic. I love her.
Yeah, I love the way her voice sounds too. Like, it's just, I don't know. There's something about it. It's really, it makes for a really interesting character.
Yeah.
So very cool. All right. So CJ touched on. Is that all, CJ?
Yes, that's all I've been. Yes,
Okay.
all.
You touched on a lot of the things I was going to chat. I do want to say Tar is now on Peacock, so I watched that
Best film of
last
2022
weekend.
for me.
Dude,
Really?
It started off very slow. Like, I didn't know what the movie was trying to do, but then once it clicked, and then, I mean, Kate Blanchett is just freaking amazing to watch. Like, I think like 15, 20 minutes in, once I figured out what the movie was trying to do and what it was trying to be, it was fantastic. Like, it was so good. I really enjoy that. Also, we already talked about Poker Face. I'm gonna probably I do like that they're releasing that weekly, because I don't know that I want to watch like a bunch of episodes at once, but I do want to watch every once in a while. So we also have the Spy Family season 1 finale was last weekend, or at least the dub, if you've been watching the sub. Um, you probably saw that later. And let's chat about a few more comics that came out this week. One of my favorite things that came out was this one shot, the Batman
Legends of Gotham.
Legends of Gotham. Like Red Hood teaming out with some of the outsiders. I was not expecting that. Just a really fun one shot heist type of thing. Also, I haven't read this, but I did pick up the new Star Wars, Santa Star Wars.
Ooh.
I've loved this character since she was introduced back in, I don't know, I think 2014 when the first Star Wars series came out. And then I love anthologies, and I love love. So this Harley Quinn romance is like I can't wait to get through it. I've read only the first story because I did a preview for it on the channel. And then last but not least, this Dark Web finale. So I read both. I read Venom and the Dark Web finale. Oh my god, what a fun event was Dark Web. I have not been reading Spider-Man since, man, I don't know. I read only a little bit of the Nick Spencer stuff, and I tried out the Seb Wells when it first started, and it did not hook me. But I was talking to my buddy Gad over at Sanctuary Comics, which is one of my shops. He was saying that the reason I enjoyed Dark Web is because Chasm was a really interesting character. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to check out the next Spider-Man to see if I was only reading the Dark Web because of Chasm, or if I'm really kind of back on board with Spider-Man. Because I want to be on board with Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. If not, I can always fall back to the Miles Morales series, which started off with a bang.
Yes, the Miles Morales series is so good.
Yes. And then also I picked up this Sins of Sinister short box.
Ooh.
I'm done with long boxes. Now I'm just gonna get these every once in a while. I think these short boxes are, first of all, easier to carry for me as an old man. But it helps me organize my comics a little better.
Awesome.
Cool. While we wait for Clay, and we are about to kind of start winding down for the show. CJ, is there anything you're working on, or you've been working on for the past few weeks at some of these places you write?
Yes, I have been reviewing The Last of Us for But Why Though. I will also pick up on some more comics coverage in the coming weeks because next week has Static Shadows of Dakota. Static is awesome.
I have it on the previews that they gave us to read, and I'm very excited.
Yes. For Collider, you'll probably see more Ant-Man themed pieces since Quantum Mania is in 2 weeks. I will probably bring IGN. I'm going to pitch more to them. Adventures in Poor Taste. Doing more comic reviews there as well as something else next week. So you'll see what that is. And yeah,
I also want to ask you, since you are a film critic, like an actual film critic, not like I just talk about movies. You are an actual accredited film critic. The Oscar nominations came out very recently. Do you have any, not hot takes, but just the strong opinions about any of those nominations or anything that was left out?
I hope Everything Everywhere All at Once sweeps because it was nominated for the same number of awards as Return of the King, and like Return of the King, it's just a phenomenal movie. And I actually wrote about this over at Collider, but I feel like Nope was snubbed.
Dude, I 100% agree. Like, I'm not an Avatar person. But I'm like, how did that?
What is an Avatar person?
Yeah, I'm just not blue. If I was gonna be blue, I would be from the Wakanda Forever blue people.
Yeah. Now I'm just like when people mention Avatar, I'm like, are you talking about the giant alien Smurfs or Aang?
Yeah. But that was definitely it should have been nominated for a few things for sure.
Visual effects alone, because
such a cool movie. So
good.
It is definitely my favorite out of the 3 Jordan Peele movies. I think I've had enough time to think and revisit some of the films, and it's definitely my favorite out of the 3.
Nice.
My other thing that I feel like somebody got left, I feel like Michael Giacchino should have been nominated for the Batman music.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I would want more Batman nominations, but I feel like that's the only one I feel strongly about making a case for. where it's just outside of just my love for Batman. So okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, Clay. While you were away, I was picking CJ's brain about movies and the Oscars. But let's talk about some of the stuff you've been watching and reading, Clay.
Oh well, I would just add to the Scarlet Witch, man. I'm digging this book. Like it's the right amount of darkness, I guess, because it's Nightmare's daughter.
Yeah.
And just in creating a door that is the last chance. Like that's just I kind of love that concept and idea.
Yeah, me too. Like I think everyone has probably felt like they need to walk through a door like that. So it's really interesting. And I do, as I was reading the issue, I was like, oh wait a minute, Nightmare. Like they kept like there was a few too many mentions of Nightmare scenarios, but I never thought it would be his daughter that was in that as opposed to himself.
And Nightmare is a god or an entity. How does he have like family and a daughter?
We don't have time to dive into how these deities get things done. But they do. I mean, look at Zeus. That dude just everywhere. Like kids all over the place. So cool. What else?
For 2000 for my other podcast with Mark, Unsocial Spectators, we're looking at the films of 2004. I watched Anchorman, Dawn of the Dead, and Primer. Yeah, Dawn of the Dead, gun script, who's the director on that?
Zack Snyder.
I'm just waiting for dating to
fucking with me, CJ.
I love the Dawn of the Dead, like it's just a fun zombie film. We get back or we get running zombies. I don't care. We're trapped in a ball. It's just fun. I love seeing Phil Dunphy as playing against type in this. Like
I think that was like his last role before he hit it big with Modern Family, or one of the last ones. So it's really interesting to see him as like this kind of an asshole rich character, whereas like Phil Dunphy's probably the sweetest man on earth.
Yeah, he's cool dad. He's trying the hardest to be cool. Revisiting Anchorman. Anchorman was a comedy. Like when it first came out, I didn't like it, almost hated it, and it's just kind of grown on me with the incredible cast that's in it. Like there's just so much fun, absurd shit in it, but there's also some weird things I forgot were in it that don't hold up, like Ben Stiller playing the head of the Spanish station and coming out and speaking Spanish is kind of awkward.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of those movies is always the fights when all the different stations get together.
Yeah. Brick, you have a grenade.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm looking through 2004 films. Like if I had to be part of that podcast, I definitely would have picked Spider-Man 2 because that's my favorite Spider-Man movie. And maybe The Day After Tomorrow. Like I love that movie. Like
I don't know. Like I feel like I saw it so many times when it first came out. Like I just don't want to ever see it again.
I'm surprised you didn't pick a double feature of The Village and The Passion of the Christ. especially with we have an M. Night Shyamalan movie coming out this week, and then
I said I think The Village may be the worst M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I haven't seen Lady in the Water. I know a lot of people like that movie, so I would have to see. Or also, there's talks of a sequel for The Passion of the Christ, I think, which I saw online. And I was like, hold on a second. Look, I'm not a historian or a Bible expert, but I think the story was pretty final.
Why don't they just call it The Story of White Jesus? I mean, that's good. Exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah, I guess what's his name? Caviezel, Jim Caviezel. Needs another role.
He's gonna come back for the sequel.
One movie I do need to watch from 2004 that I've never seen is The Machinist.
Yeah, that's actually the movie Mark watched. So he's going to be talking about that.
I'll watch that before I listen because I'm a big Christian Bale head. So
yeah, and that's also the same year that Batman Begins came out. So Machinist to Batman Begins, from that body that he has at the end to just super buff Bruce Wayne in the first movie. Dude, that guy's insane.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Primer. What else did we watch? Oh, and then like I said, I went through all the Authority and Stormwatch books. It was great to go back to the '90s. It was great to see how some of the heroes look. I keep going back to Gunn's portrayal of Peacemaker's dad when he put on his '90s suit. I hope he does a lot of '90s suit tributes. That would be great. Just get a costume designer who worked in comics and just do pouches for everyone.
Yeah, it's funny because I think a lot of creators were also saying like a lot of artists, they don't just do comics, right? They do like what do they call for movies? Like
Concept art.
Concept art or the storyboards. Thank you, CJ. That's why you're the film critic here, because you know these words. But yeah, like get these people involved. Like if you don't want to pay them because they don't own the creators or the creations or whatever. Although you know what, you know who's getting paid? Well, I mean, who was getting paid? Jim Lee made out like a bandit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We definitely need to revisit that Wallstorm period. I think also this year was like the anniversary of Image being founded.
Yeah.
Which was really nice to see those guys tweet about it, and not only them, but like other creators. Like I think a lot of us grew up reading and still read Image books.
Oh yeah.
I am an unabashed Spawn fan. I love
dude.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Did you read? Oh, I think you made a review for what's the new Spawn book that came out recently?
Unwanted Violence.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the Freak, but I was like, I can't wait for the whatever part 2 of this year because I think it's only a 2-parter.
Yes.
I'm very excited. I love Mike Del Mundo. Like, that's one of the reasons I picked it up. So cool. All right. Anything else, Clay?
No, that's pretty much it. Slow week.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, we are at the part of the show where we give you some recommendations. So if you guys have anything on top of all the books we've already talked about, or anything you're looking forward to coming out this week or whatever, let's talk about that. And Clay, since you have something on the notes, I'll let you go first because I still need to figure it out.
Just to add to the John Stewart love, my favorite Green Lantern run with John Stewart in it is Mosaic. If you can track that down, I don't think it's collected in trade. I think you can buy it digitally, but I hate the digital format. So you would have to find the issues for this. I don't think they're high in price, but essentially John Stewart becomes the guardian of a planet that is put together from different planets. Kind of the way the Beyonder created Battleworld with different parts. But in this story, Green Lantern has to get all these different people to work together. Like you've got your neighbor could be from a completely different planet, society, have all kinds of different thoughts about how the world is and where they live. The Green Lantern has to make everyone work together. So it's a planet, not a sector that he's over. And it's, I'm trying to remember who did the art in it, but it's one of my favorite Green Lantern books.
Cool. All right. CJ, what are you looking forward to? Or what do you recommend?
What hadn't I recommended?
Yeah, I know you've already recommended like 10 things. I know. What about any comics for this week? Are you reviewing any comics for this week?
What are you excited?
If you guys love Image Comics, they have recently launched a new superhero verse called the Massive Verse. I highly suggest checking out Radiant Black, as well as Rogue Sun, The Dead Lucky, and the recent edition Inferno Girl Red. They are really great, realistic, and not in the terms of grounded and gritty, but more superheroes dealing with real world problems like rants and disease and stuff like that. And the aesthetic is inspired by stuff like Kamen Rider, Power Rangers. Kyle Higgins, who is one of my favorite comic book writers on the planet and just a great guy, described it as real life Power Rangers, and that couldn't be more great, especially since Power Rangers celebrates its 30th anniversary this year. So if you love Power Rangers, and if you are my age, if you're a millennial, check out Radiant Black. It's one of the best comics I've ever read. You won't regret it.
Yes. And are you reading the TMNT Power Rangers crossover?
Yeah, buddy.
Dude.
First one was great. And the second one is just taking it to new levels. I'm just like, everybody before he did DC. Dan Moore started on Power Rangers, and
Yep.
it still draws some cool ass Power Rangers. So yeah.
My one complaint about that book is that Ariel and Kimberly look very similar, so it's really hard to tell. Like
it's
when they're
tricky.
especially because they both kind of take on the Pink Ranger mantle. Yeah. So we do have here I have a comment from Promiscuous Time Traveler. If it loads here, Radiant Black was my second favorite comic last year. So there you go, two big recommendations. That's great.
That's huge.
All right. So I'm gonna definitely we have a new issue of Batman coming out next week. Chip Zdarsky has just been doing God's work on that series.
God's work.
But the one I'm most excited for, because as I showed you guys my Sins of Sinister box, is the spin-off Sins of Sinister, Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, written by Al Ewing with art by, is it Paco Medina? Yes. Oh my god! If you read Sins of Sinister, it broke my brain. Like, I knew things were gonna go badly for everyone, but reading the book, it is so much worse. So and the cool thing is that I think it's spinning off like 3 series that are not, but they're still going with the ongoing stuff. And Al Ewing's been doing such a fantastic job with Storm and those characters in the X-Men Red run that recently finished. So very excited for that. Go check that out. And then, like I mentioned, Poker Face was my other recommendation, just because I want to keep watching that show. And it's on Peacock. I don't know. I guess I think it's on the paid tier. I don't know what's on the. It's hard for me to tell what's on the free one since I don't have that. But
Yeah.
yes, very excited for that. Okay, I think we are closing in. So CJ, first of all, thank you for joining us. We are definitely going to invite you back because you just your knowledge of comics, and then also it just really meshes well with us. So I really appreciate you. I know I invited you kind of last minute, so I appreciate you helping us out and everything you brought to the show. But why don't you tell the people where they can find you online? And please don't just tell them to Google you, even though that's such a.
You can find me on Twitter at CJ Writes Things, on Instagram and TikTok as CJ Writes Stuff. Again, as Danny mentioned, my written work can be found on But Why Though, Collider, CBR/Film, Adventures in Poor Tastes, and yes, I am also a member of the Seattle Critics Film Society, and you can also find my movie and TV reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
Have you seen Knock at the Cabin?
I am planning to see it tomorrow.
Okay, cool. I look forward to your thoughts on that, because I think hopefully I can watch it later today, because I'm very excited for more Dave Bautista.
Yes, Dave Bautista is the best wrestler turned actor. That man is
right.
I can't wait to see more of what he does. But yeah, I will definitely let you know what I think.
Cool. Clay, do you have anything? When is you guys'? I know you have 2 other podcasts other than this. Any of those coming out anytime soon?
Mark and I will record tomorrow, so the show should drop tomorrow night, and then Kyle Shelby and I should do a recording next weekend. We're trying to get Kyle's timeline situated and for Squatching episode 2.
Great. Squatching
Squatching is the latest Bigfoot news and sightings, and then we watch a film with Bigfoot in it and let you know what we think.
Cool. Awesome. All right. As for myself, you can follow me at Echo Spider pretty much everywhere on social media. Yeah. And also remember, go check out the I Read Comic Books podcast. I'm on the episode, not this week's, but the one prior to that. And I will be back, I think, sometime in March. We have a rotating cast of people. So I should be back in March unless, the schedule changes. So go check that out. This was such a fun show. Thank you to everyone that watched live. Derpy Entertainment, Promiscuous Time Traveler. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll put links for both for the shows and for CJ stuff in the description of the video after this. So thank you for that. Stay tuned. This week we have a bunch of comics reviews. Although Marvel still refuses to let me review their comics, but but we will still do it even if it's after they come out. But yeah, I got a bunch of DC reviews already kind of written up. We just need to shoot that for the channel. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more movies. We'll talk about some other stuff throughout the week. And also check out our shorts. We put some of these segments on the shorts. We do mini reviews and stuff, all that. I think people really enjoy those. So thanks everyone for watching. All right. I think that's gonna do it. I should have been pulling up the outro while I was talking, but I didn't. So while I vamp. Oh, here we go. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Peace.
Let's get out of
Let's
here.
ride.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Twitter loves you.
Oh yeah. Clay.
Hell, Bebo.
Josh, Simon Center, get the fuck out.